53 let v mafiánské rodině Gambino. Jdeme se podívat, co podle něho Daniel Vávra vystihl správně a kde byl úplně mimo. Jdeme se podívat.
This takes place in 1930. It's supposed to be the mob car chase in the middle of the street shooting guns at each
Klasika.
other. That may have been able to happen back in 1930, but in my time, that would have never happened. A shootout like that in the street. There has been people killed, and innocent people have got killed in mob wars, but I don't remember ever having a shootout like that. So maybe in 1930, that was possible, and it did happen like that.
On him!
Sharon je tak dobrý, že se kvůli tomuhle videu i naučil česky, takže buďte v klidu.
Kam to bude?
Pryč!
Všemu rozumím.
A doufám, že seš zatraceně rychlej.
After a mob hit, people have to disappear. Like when Paul Castellano was killed, people probably went down into the subways and jumped in cabs. So that's realistic to me that after trying to do something like that, they got into a cab that would happen to be standing there. So that all makes sense. They went to the social club. Okay. That's where the boss hangs out. They're going to take care of the driver, which makes sense. At this point, there's only two things they could do with that driver. Either they could kill him because he knows what's going on, or they could take care of him because they liked him. So evidently, they're going to take care of him rather than kill him.
Ty vole, no. Hrozný nervíky červíky jsem měl, když jsem to hrál poprvé v roce 2002 nebo 3 a čekal jsem, co s ním udělají.
Možná bychom pro tebe měli i práci.
Ale dobře to dopadlo.
Za slušný peníze.
I don't think that would happen that fast to offer him a job. They might tell him to come around, have a drink, have a cup of coffee to feel him out, but they're not going to offer him a job like right from Jump Street. I mean, even though he did the right thing and drove them to where they had to go and all that, he didn't dog it.
Shit.
No, nebudu spoilovat.
Tak tě máme, parchante. Pan Morello je pěkně nasraný.
Now, I have a problem with this scene. There's no reason for them to go after the cab driver. Nobody knows.
Tohle, to, co říká by the way, to je něco, nad čím jsem se nikdy vůbec nepozastavil. Nikdy. Ale teď, jak to zmínil, tak jsem pochopil, že to je šílená blbost.
Know who he was. He was a
Žolo,
random cab
nazdar,
driver.
kamarád. Chceš koupit moje nožíky?
Know who they're chasing. This is out of character. There's no way this would happen. They would never go after the cab driver. There's no point in it. He doesn't know who they are. It's just a legitimate random.
Ty blázínku. Lidi prostě milujou reakční content. Padl se fire? Nepadl se fire. Však tam Tomáš říká, že si ho našli podle čísla taxíku. Počkat, tam říká, že si ho našli podle čísla taxíku? Kdy to tam říká? Ale i tak, ty vole. Počkej, ale uvidíte ještě, co říká.
Právě, že do burgeru nemám z toho žádné potěšení. Nechutná mi to a cítím se jako prase.
Jo, chudý velo, děkuju.
Diety.
No, tak jsem čurák, no.
Hezký večer přeji.
Děkuju, chudý velo, za tu 1000. Právě, že jdu burger, nemám z toho žádný potěšení, nechutná mi to a cítím se jako prase. Zlatý jídlo z krabičkový diety. Ty vole, čet, já vám říkám, že ti top donátoři v poslední době jsou absolutní blázni. Absolutní blázinci. Děkuju strašně moc, chudý velo, to je mi velice líto. Nemám k tomu co dodat. Víš, v čem je ten problém, proč ti nechutná ten burger? Podle mě je problém v tom, že jsi ho nedal well done. O tom jsme se bavili včera, burgeríky jedině well done. Děkuju strašně moc, chudý velo, za 1000. Zatím ze všech lidí tady na streamu máš nejlépe našlapnutou k tomu, aby jsi po dnešním streamu odnesl tento krásný exkluzivní FlyGun CZ půl litr. Děkuju strašně moc, šéfe. Zítino, děkuju za 6 měsíců. No, každopádně. Nepamatuju si, že Tommy by tam říkal, že si zapamatovali číslo taxíku. I tak, jakoby bylo by těžké si to číslo zapamatovat. Jo, bylo by to těžké. A za druhé tam řekne ještě jednu zajímavou věc.
Cab driver that these other guys jumped in his car with a gun. And to me, this scene makes no sense to me because it would just wouldn't happen. There's no reason for it. The only people that would have hurt the driver were the people he drove to that club. But they chose to give him money instead of hurt him. These other guys have no reason to hurt the cab driver because he doesn't know anything and he's just an innocent guy. So I have a problem with this scene. So he said to Mr. Morelli, that's the boss of the other family. He didn't know who anybody was, so he didn't choose to help the other family. He just was a victim of circumstance because he was stuck there with his cab. So he didn't help them, knowingly help them. He just was a victim.
Přesně tak, že myslím, že Morelovic rodina by proti tomu taxikáři reálně nic neměla, protože by asi pochopili, že neměl vůbec na vybranou, že byl ve špatný čas na správném místě ten Tommy a že neměl prostě na vybranou, protože kdyby jim nepomohl, tak by ho odstřelili na místě. Takže myslím si, že by proti tomu taxikáři reálně nic neměli u Morela, protože fakt za to nemůže a nemyslím si, že by si takhle o něj chtěli postarat. Jo, a zatímco ještě jedna věc k této misi, kdy vlastně je divný, že Robert, který mu měl spravit fasádu, tak zároveň, když Tommy utekl, tak Robertovi nedělalo problém po něm střílet a vlastně ho i zabít. Takže chtěli ho pouze zmlátit, nebo by ho ve finále i zastřelili? Protože potom i po něm stříleli, že, když zdrhl. Nevím, ale jakoby nikdy mě to nenapadlo do té doby. Je to reálně tak 50/50. No prostě ty vole.
Now this part I could understand. After if the person, the driver actually did get a beating, either he would just forget about it and live scared or go to the people for help because it's their fault he got beat up. And there were a lot of shootouts in clubs. People did get killed in places like that. There were hits in there.
Jak se jmenuješ, chlapče?
Thomas Angel.
Okay. Jo, to je nejlepší. To je vždycky nejlepší scéna, jak z ničeho nic, tam už sedí v tom obleku absolutně ready.
So this guy yesterday was a cab driver, and now today he's sitting with a suit and tie on talking to the boss. In reality and in the mob, that's never going to happen because there's protocols. When someone's accepted as an associate, which he was because he drove them and he went to them for help and they like him, they think he has potential, so he's an associate. An associate hooks up with a soldier, which is probably the guy sitting next to him. I'll use Fat Andy, my father. So an associate would go to him, he would go to his captain when he wasn't a captain, because the captain has the regime, and the captain would go to the boss and they would put them on record. Eventually, associates will meet bosses. Like I was an associate, I met Paul Castellano, who was the boss. I met John Gotti, who was the boss. I met Neil, who was the underboss. I met Joe Gallo, who was the consigliere, and on and on. I met other bosses of other families, Joe Messina, Vic Amuso, but I was on record with Fat Andy and Tony Lee. So it's a nice scene, but this isn't going to take place that fast, you know? And I don't know, that especially him meeting a boss of a family so soon, like that's unrealistic.
Že už nikdy nebudeme hrát první Mafii, je plná nepřesností. Nebudeme už nikdy hrát, OK?
Totally unrealistic. That's not going to happen at all. You're not going to meet the boss the second day you're on the job. That ain't going to happen.
A rozhodl jsem se, že...
A myslím si, že tato hra vůbec nedělá. Streamování této hry, myslím si, že neprospívá dětem, protože pak se třeba budou chtít stát ještě mafiány nebo tak, takže už ji nebudeme hrát.
S tebou zkusím, Tome. Mám rád nové
Dvojka,
tváře.
to je něco jiného, tu si dneska moc rád
boss ain't going to give anybody a shot. It's always going to come from the soldier that you're with, whoever you're on record with. The boss is never going to tell you what to do unless you're a made member.
Aha.
Like the Chingiganti, he never would have met an associate.
Ty vole, normálně kamarádi, ten vypadá jako Lincoln Clay, no Caparino. To je Lincoln Clay z trojky. Co ti drbe? A myslím si, že až dohrajeme druhou Mafii bez úmrtí, tak je na čase poprvé v životě dohrát troječku. Je to Lincoln Clay, vypadá tak.
To ever meet an associate, he would have never done it.
Tady Frank je jako moje pravá ruka a stará se o právní stránku naší věci.
Even this scene. So where's the underboss? Who's the consigliere? The lawyer is the consigliere. What is this, Tom Hegan? Where's the captains? Who's the captain? Who's the soldier? Who's the underboss? Who's the consigliere? We know who the boss is, but we don't know who anybody else is.
Dneska to můžeš vrátit těm parchantům, co ti rozmlátili.
Je to skromná rodinka
That's
prostě.
another thing that's never going to happen. A boss is not going to tell an associate to go commit a crime unless the associate is like John Gotti. It was when he killed McBratton in Staten Island for Carlo Gambino. So this is another scene. I mean, you know, it's good for the game. I mean, I like it, but it's not in real life. This is not real life. So
On to i Dan Vávra, myslím, říkal v nějakém rozhovoru, že to není tak, že by Don byl nějaký hodnej strejda, za kterým si sedneš někde vzadu v jeho podniku, probereš biznis a pošle tě na misi. Dan Vávra prostě, když byl mladý, tak šel s rodiči na Goodfellas a rozhodl se udělat v Mafii. Všechno v pořádku. All good, jak by řekl Alkan. All good.
Buongiorno, Vincenzo. Ciao, Pauli.
I don't know about this. I mean, we always had guns stashed in the clubs. We had traps. I never heard of a gun expert dispensing guns to mob guys. Like, our crew always got our own guns. You know, a lot of guns were brought up from down south in New York. They were smuggled up from down south because it was easy to buy guns down south. And we had traps in our clubs. Like, we had a trap in Cafe Liberty, a hiding spot where there was always a gun. Some of us, like Ronnie One Arm, he always had a gun on him because he had one arm. I mean, certain guys always had guns on them. A lot of guys had knives. We always had something in our car, a bat, a pipe. Like, I always had a bat in my car. My
Ani
father
slovo o
always had
Patriku Tury.
like a club
Ani
in his
slovo.
car. But this, our family never had this, but I'm not saying that maybe another family didn't, but we never had like an armory.
Na to by měla stačit tahle klasická sportovní pomůcka.
Like I said, we always all had bats. And there were bomb experts, so when Frankie DeChico got blown up in Brooklyn, after the incident...
Vincenzo by byl takzvaně nezaměstnaný. A tak víš, jak Vincenzo by ho vidíš i čistit ty zbraně, opravovat ty zbraně, takže víš co, zatímco bez takým se porouchala zbraň nebo něco a vyhodili jí místo toho, aby měli Vincenza, který ji za levnou opravil, protože by to byl zaměstnanec. Nevím, no, podle mě měli mít svého Vincenza.
It was known that the Chin Gigante, the boss of the Genovese family, and Vic Musso, the boss of the Lucchese family, imported Sicilian guys from Italy that were bomb experts to plant the bomb under the car.
Jo. Michale, pak mu můžeš ukázat tu misi, kde bohužel dá bombu pod to špatný auto. Jestli se to někdy stávalo.
So that is reality. I mean, there were experts brought in to do certain things.
Ahoj, Pauli.
Zdravím, Ralfe.
Koukám, že pořád ještě kulháš.
Ralfe.
Stolen cars were used for robberies, for murders. You're not going to go with your own car. So places like that did exist, garages, warehouses, where stolen cars were brought to be chopped up, to sold, or stashed to be used on a hit. When they hijacked trucks, they would follow them with stolen cars. So this is reality, you know, having garages like that where stolen property or cars or whatever were stashed in. And we had a mechanic with us named Frankie the Mechanic, and he ran the chop shops for us. So I could see this happening. After you have a beef, a little retaliation, send a message, send a warning. I actually had a car burnt up on me. We had a bar fight, and I left the car there, and the people that I had the bar fight with lit the car on fire. A little retaliation. So this is definitely something that would happen, you know, if you're having beefs with another crew. You have retaliation in one form or another, so this is just a form of retaliation.
Tak to je do dneška.
Send a little message, sort of like send a message to maybe bring it to the table, to have it ironed out, or
My jsme dělali to stejné, ale s kolama.
gonna escalate.
V tom případě tě vítám v rodině, to.
A s Beyblady jsme to taky dělali.
Je mi ctí, pane.
This just goes back to what I said earlier. A boss isn't going to do that. Welcome to the family. I mean, it's just not realistic. The soldier would report back to the captain that he stood up. Tommy did a good job. He's a good guy. I think he stand up, and so on and so forth. But to have direct contact with a boss.
Takže budeme se zaplíhají se to vykáru. GG, ne, to bude Ivana.
Okay, everybody, this is the end of part 1.
Ivana je prostě něco jako Patricia, chápeš? Další částky budou následovat podle vašeho zájmu. Ano, určitě dejte vědět mě nebo Michalovi, na jaký další částky by měl reagovat, a možná Michal udělá i rozhovor se Semi Debulem. bývalým konciliérem, který vlastně byl součástí těch rituálů, když z někoho dělali Matemana. Ta podobná část je i v druhé Mafii. To znamená, že by na to zareagoval přímo, jak je to tam udělaný, ale moc dobře víme, že je to tam vyobrazený v té druhé Mafii docela realisticky, to přijmutí. Takže v tomhletom kontentu se bude pokračovat a vždycky se na to podíváme.